You have been conditioned to ignore your intuition. Think about the last time that you made a completely reasonable decision, logical, sensible. Maybe you made the list, took a poll with three friends, and you did the research. And somewhere underneath all of that, your body was saying no. Maybe it wasn't screaming. Maybe it was just a knot in your stomach or a heaviness in your chest, a pull away you couldn't quite explain. And you felt it, but you went ahead and did it anyways.
I think we've all done that.
We have.
Your body says absolutely not, but your mind says, okay, but let's check the reviews.
I've stood in the grocery store aisle feeling my stomach turn into a boulder and thought, no, no, no. The reviews online say this was such a great product.
The spreadsheet said this was a fantastic purchase.
The spreadsheets have betrayed us both.
And that's funny when it is a purchase, but what happens when it's a relationship, a job, a boundary, our own safety? What happens when our body speaks before our mind has had enough evidence to even explain it? We've been trained really to believe that if we can't explain it, we shouldn't trust it.
Here's the thing, it's not that we're bad at listening to our bodies. We were just trained to don't make a scene, and we've been trained like, are you sure you're not overreacting? Just be nice about it. Every one of those phrases teaches us that your own signal is up for debate.
And it sticks. It follows you into doctor's offices, into meetings, into relationships until overriding your gut isn't a choice anymore. It's just a natural reflex.
So today we're doing two things. We're taking that conditioning apart piece by piece, and we're remembering something underneath it, that you are not a single dimensional person. You are not just a body. You are not just your thoughts. You are a biodimensional being.
Which means your body knows, your mind knows, your spirit knows. And sometimes they don't agree. That disagreement isn't a malfunction, that's information.
So we're going all the way into it today. Mind, body, spirit. Once we've cleared out the conditioning that's been muffling the signal in the first place.
So settle in, drop those shoulders away from your ears. Yes, you. We see you hiding them up by your jaw. But let's open up the channel.
Welcome back to Sacred Soul Roots. Before we dive in, for anyone new here, I'm Angela. I'm a Pisces sun, which means I'm basically half submerged in feeling and imagination at all times, with a Cancer moon and a Gemini rising, which is exactly why I can talk for 11 minutes straight about a coin I found on a hiking trail.
Which she will later. I'm April, Aries sun, so I run at problems head first. Taurus moon, so once I land somewhere, I plant my feet and do not move. And yes, also a Gemini rising, which is exactly why the two of us can finish each other's sentences.
We've been doing this since we were 10.
Right? 36 plus years now, which is relevant today actually, because a huge amount of what I know about trusting my own signal, I learned by watching Angela ignore hers for a decade and then finally stop.
Rude. Accurate, but rude.
It's a love language.
It really is. Okay, let's plant today's seed. If body, mind, and spirit are three instruments, most of us only tune into one, and usually it's the loudest, most anxious one. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to tune into all three so they play in the same key. When most people think about intuition, they usually try to fit it into one small box. Either they think it's purely biological, like a nervous system reaction, or they think it's this floating, mysterious thing that only happens when you're deep in meditation.
Right. But as a biodimensional being, your intuition doesn't just live in one single layer. It operates through three distinct frequencies. The body is your immediate physical antenna, communicating through felt sensations, temperature shifts, stomach drops, heart expansion, goosebumps. The mind is the translation center, and when it's clear, it acts like a clean mirror that lets insight land without distorting it. And the spirit is the broader field where you receive messages beyond your immediate ego, synchronicities, symbols, and guidance from the unseen realm.
When all three are aligned, your intuition becomes unshakable. You aren't just reacting to life, you're actively in conversation with it.
And here's the one thing nobody tells you: most of us didn't lose access to all three at once. We lost them one at a time, usually in a specific order, and usually starting with the body.
Which is exactly where we're going to start rebuilding.
Let's start with the base antenna, the physical body. You know how much I love it when science catches up to spirit. Your gut has its own independent nervous system.
Over 100 million neurons lining your entire digestive tract, more than your actual spinal cord.
Which is mind blowing. And it's not just neurons sitting there quietly. Your gut produces around 90% of the serotonin in your entire body. Not your brain, your gut.
Wait, say that again for the people in the back.
90% of your body's serotonin, the thing we associate with mood and calmness and well being, is manufactured in your digestive tract.
So when someone says trust your gut, they are being frighteningly literal.
Extremely literal. And 90% of the traffic on the vagus nerve, that big highway connecting your gut and your brain, is going upward from belly to brain. And your belly is constantly feeding information to your head, not really the other way around.
Your brain is basically the press secretary trying to write a speech for what your body already knows.
And half the time, the press secretary is lying to cover up the mess because it wants to look smart in front of everybody.
There's also this concept called interoception, which is your ability to actually sense what is happening inside your own body, your heart rate, breath, tension, fullness. And here's the wild part: interoception is trainable, it's not fixed. The more you practice noticing internal sensation, the more accurate and fast your gut signals become.
Which means all those years you spent living from the neck up didn't just make you feel disconnected. They actually weakened the physical wiring for the connection.
But the good news buried inside that slightly alarming fact is that the wiring comes back, and fast. This isn't a decade-long project. Bodies want to reconnect. You just have to give them the opening.
But if we only stay in the physical body, we miss the bigger picture. The body is the receiver. Spirit is often the broadcast.
Okay, we opened up today by telling you that you've been conditioned to ignore your intuition. Let's actually sit inside that, because I don't think we can talk honestly about ignoring your gut without talking about why so many of us, especially women, get trained out of it in the first place.
Oh, this is the part where I get a little fired up.
Let's just go for it.
All right, well, from the time we were little girls, it's like we're all taught to doubt our own gut. When a boy pushes us on the playground, we're told that just means he likes you. When men act out, it's boys will be boys. We're trained that good girls are quiet, polite, and helpful. And the moment we express real emotion, pain, or a boundary, it's dismissed as, it must be that time of the month. We learn to be agreeable, keep the peace, and override our deepest instincts, all just to prioritize everyone else's comfort over our own truth.
And it doesn't just stop in childhood, it just changes costumes. As a doula, I've seen this playing out in a delivery room actually, consistently. A laboring woman's body instinctively tells her to move, to get up, to squat, to lean on the counter, or to make deep vocal sounds to carry her through a contraction. And almost immediately, a medical professional can step in and say, "No, lay back down, stay on the monitor, you're doing it wrong." Ugh.
Overriding her primal wisdom just to enforce hospital protocol.
Yeah, and she knows her body. She believed it first, every single time, because the body doesn't lie about that kind of power. But she's already been conditioned by the system, by the white coat, by an entire culture that whispers, the authority knows best. So she defers. She swallows her instincts, nods, lies back down, and goes quiet. And the tragic part? Sometimes that quiet costs her critical time in an emergency.
And that's not an exaggeration. That's systemic medical gaslighting. And it's happening on a massive scale. Let's be real.
It is. I've held the hands of mothers who told their providers something was very deeply wrong, only to be told they were just anxious, only to be proven right an hour later or in an OR. And worse, I've sat with that client who never said a word at all. Not because they didn't know something was wrong, but because they learned decades ago, before they even got pregnant, that their gut wasn't considered a reliable evidence in a room full of credentials.
Which is the exact same muscle as the grocery store aisle, just with higher stakes involved.
Exactly the same muscle. A woman in labor and a woman standing in a Target aisle are running the identical override. Body says no, external authority says you're fine, body loses.
And it's not only medical, it shows up in professional spaces constantly. Staying quiet in a meeting when your stomach is screaming that a decision is wrong, or maybe because you don't want to be the difficult one. Saying yes to things your whole body is leaning away from because no was never modeled for you as a safe, complete sentence.
It shows up in relationships too. Staying an extra 6 months past the point your gut already told you it was over because you talked yourself into needing more proof. Proof is a mind thing. Your gut had already told you the answer.
And it shows up in something as small as apologizing before you even finish a sentence. Sorry, this might be a dumb question, but that's conditioning talking, not you.
I have a problem with saying sorry. And by the time most of us are adults, we've had literally decades of practicing ignoring the exact signals that we're trying to relearn today. Childhood, school, doctor's offices, jobs, relationships, layer after layer, all teaching us the same lesson. Your read on your own body and your own life is negotiable.
And that's really the whole heartbeat of this podcast, isn't it? It's not just body, mind, and spirit as three separate topics. It's unconditioning all three, getting your body, your mind, and your spirit back to their original unfiltered signal before the world got its hands on them.
Unconditioned. That's the word. So I never want anyone listening to this to feel broken for not trusting their own gut yet. You were trained out of it systematically, repeatedly, by people and systems that had their own reasons for needing you to be quiet. Relearning it is not fixing something wrong with you. It's unconditioning something that was never yours to begin with.
Say that part again for the people who needed it.
Relearning your intuition is not fixing something broken in you. It's unconditioning something that was never yours to begin with.
Because underneath all that conditioning, something never actually left.
You didn't become disconnected from a single body, a single mind, or a narrow channel of knowing. Because you're a biodimensional being. The conditioning just taught you to only listen to one dimension of yourself.
Today, we're getting the rest of the signal back. How do we start? You don't ask your gut to solve your biggest life crisis right out of the gate. Your nervous system will just panic and flood you with noise. You start small, very small.
This is step one, and we're going to do it together right now. Unless you're currently driving a car. If you're driving, please keep your hands on the wheel. So let's start and take one hand and place it flat against your stomach, right above your solar plexus, just above the belly button.
And don't suck your stomach in. Don't fix your posture. Just let your hand rest there like a warm, heavy weight.
And notice how automatic this is. The second your palm touches your stomach, your shoulders drop just a tiny bit. That physical touch communicates safely, directly to your enteric nervous system. Now, keeping your hand there, ask your body a simple, low stakes question. Pick something where you truly don't care about the answer. Ask, does my body want a glass of water right now? Or do I want to take a 5-minute walk outside?
Now ignore your head. Don't wait for a sentence or a logical reason. Pay attention strictly to the physical sensation right underneath your palm within the first 2 seconds. Is there a soft relaxation? A gentle drop in pressure? A micro expansion? That's a biological yes. Is there a subtle tightening, a quick freeze, or a pulling back inward? That's a biological no.
Did you feel how fast your brain tried to pop in and explain why you wanted water? Exhibit brain, the body felt the preference. And that's more than enough evidence. So let's move up to the third layer. Because if you're only a body, the next part won't make sense.
But you're not only a body.
You're a biodimensional being, which means there's a dimension of you that receives information the body can't fully explain and the mind can't fully prove.
If the body is the antenna, spirit is often the broadcast. And this is where a lot of people get uncomfortable because it's harder to prove and it doesn't come with a peer reviewed study behind it. But almost everyone listening right now has had a moment they can't fully explain.
A coin, a feather, a song, a bird that shows up at exactly the wrong or exactly the right moment. And the very human instinct is to explain it away instantly. That was just a coincidence. That didn't mean anything.
Here's what we want you to sit with instead. Spirit tends to work through what we call a resonance loop. Something happens outside of you, a sign, a symbol, an object that appears in an impossible place, and your body responds to it before your mind is even caught up. Goosebumps, a sudden chill, a wave of warmth or grief or recognition that arrives faster than you can even think it a sentence.
That physical response is the confirmation. Spirit provides the sign, and your body acts as the resonance chamber that says, yes, this is real. Pay attention. It's the exact same channel that we've been talking about all episode, just receiving from a different direction.
This channel tends to go quiet during heavy loss or grief for a lot of people. When the pain feels like too much, the whole system can shut down in a protective way, not just emotionally, but spiritually too. And that's not a failure. That's the nervous system doing its job, keeping you upright.
What we've noticed, both in our lives and in people that we work with, is that the channel doesn't usually come back with one dramatic moment. It comes back slowly through small, oddly specific, repeatable patterns that are hard to write off as chance once you've noticed them a handful of times.
And once you start paying attention, you start noticing how much of this is already happening around you all the time, quietly, waiting to be acknowledged instead of explained away. Let's talk about how people can start recognizing these external messages in their own lives. Spirit rarely sends a billboard with your name on it. It speaks more of a language of symbols and timing and nature.
Here are the primary ways that messages tend to land from outside of us. Repeated symbols and objects, such as coins, flowers, specific birds, or numbers. When something repeats 3 times in a short window, that's not random. That is an intentional tap on the shoulder.
Maybe electric and technological quirks, lights flickering, a song coming on the radio at the exact moment you're thinking about a problem or a special person, clocks displaying repeating numbers like 1111 or 444.
Physical truth chills, or sudden temperature shifts. When a thought or a statement is accompanied by sudden goosebumps across the arm or down the spine, that's your energy field responding to something true.
And environmental overrides, an animal approaching you in an unusual way, or an unexpected event completely blocking a path you were trying to force.
There's also a quieter category people miss consistently: dreams that feel different from regular dreams, more vivid, more textured. They stay with you for days. A person's name crossing your mind out of nowhere right before they call, a physical pull towards or away from a room, a conversation, a decision that has no logical explanation attached to it at all.
The key to developing this kind of intuition is stopping the bad habit of immediately talking yourself out of what you just witnessed.
The second a sign lands, your mind wants to pop up and say, that was just a fluke. Don't be silly.
One thing we'll add, because people ask us this often, signs are not a replacement for discernment. If you see a feather and decide to quit your job and move to another country by Thursday, well, that's not spirit talking. That's impulsivity wearing a spirit costume.
Real signs tend to confirm something that your body or your gut has already been quietly trying to tell you. They rarely introduce something completely out of nowhere. They're confirmation, not a substitute for the work.
That distinction matters so much. Signs amplify a signal that's already there. They don't manufacture one from nothing. Which brings us to step 2 of today's practice. This one lives outside the meditation moments, out in your actual life.
Grab a notebook or your phone notes app, whatever you actually will use. For the next 7 days, every time something repeats, catches your attention unusually, or gives you that truth chill sensation, write down 3 things: what the sign was, what you were thinking or feeling right before it appeared, and what question, if any, felt unresolved in you at that moment.
And do not interpret it in the moment, just document it. Interpretation comes later, once you have had a chance to kind of look at it instead of just the isolated data point.
Give it the full 7 days before you draw any conclusions. Most people quit on day 2 because nothing dramatic happens yet. And dramatic was never really the point.
A single coincidence is a coincidence. A pattern is a message. Now let's clear up the biggest source of confusion. How do I know if a message or a feeling is real guidance or if it's just my anxiety freaking out?
That is critical. Anxiety and fear are loud, urgent, sharp, and kinetic. Fear operates in headlines and drama. It demands you take action right this second, or everything will fall apart. Fear loves to spin catastrophic future scenarios.
Fear brings an entire legal brief to prove why you should panic. True guidance, whether it's a gut feeling or an external sign, is almost boringly calm. It doesn't argue, it doesn't write essays, it doesn't care if your ego agrees. It simply delivers a quiet statement of fact. Not this path, look down, wait, say no.
Fear is full of frantic stories. Spirit is just clean truth. When fear is running the show, your mind is racing at 100 miles an hour while your chest feels tight. When guidance lands, even if the message is surprisingly or inconvenient, there's a deep, quiet stillness right at your center. It feels solid, like standing on a bedrock.
Here's a diagnostic question we use constantly. Does this feeling want me to move fast, or does it want me to just be honest? Fear always wants speed. Guidance is fine with you taking your time because it's not going anywhere.
Another, am I trying to control what happens next, or am I just noticing what's happening right now? Fear tries to control outcomes. Intuition and spirit just notice.
And a third one, since we're on a roll, would I still trust this feeling if no one else ever found out I acted on it? Fear often needs an audience or needs to be justified to someone. Real guidance doesn't need permission from anybody. This is step 3, and it's specifically for the mind, because the mind is usually the loudest, most defensive of all 3 instruments.
And here's the practice. When you notice a fear thought spinning, and you will notice because fear is loud, do not argue with it. Do not try to logic your way out of it. Instead, name it out loud or internally in exactly 4 words. That's a fear thought. So that's a fear thought.
Not, that's stupid, or stop thinking that. Just a plain, neutral label. That's a fear thought.
Take one slow breath and ask, what does my body say underneath this noise? Go back to your hand on your stomach if you need to. The goal isn't to silence the fear thought forever. It's to stop mistaking its volume for its authority.
Let's talk about where this shows up most in real life. And that's usually around people and decisions, not in a meditation cushion somewhere quiet.
A lot of the strongest, clearest signals people report happen around other people specifically. A feeling in your chest the first time you meet someone before you have a single piece of evidence to justify it. A subtle pullback in a room when someone who said and done nothing wrong. On paper, everything seems fine, and yet your body is already halfway out the door.
And it's not always a warning. Sometimes it could be the opposite. A sense of instant recognition with someone. A feeling of already knowing them. That has actually nothing to do with logic and everything to do with something your body clocked before your brain did.
Decisions work the same way. Most people describe the same pattern when we ask them about it. Something underneath it felt off from the very first conversation. And they spent weeks or months trying to talk themselves past that feeling because the paperwork was so convincing.
And almost always, when it goes sideways later, the person can point to that exact first moment and say, I knew it then, I just didn't listen.
The tax on ignoring the first read is always steeper than the discomfort of honoring it early. A quick, uncomfortable no at the start is nothing compared to months of cleanup after you ignored that signal.
The pattern is almost always the same, whether it's a relationship, a job, a friendship, or a decision. That first read is usually the truest one. Everything after that is just your mind building a case for or against something your body already answered.
Okay, before we get into our next rooted step, let's pause for a second and open up the mailbag. Because every time we talk about trusting your gut or reading a sign, our inbox and DMs light up with the same handful of questions.
Let's actually answer them now out loud. First one, what if I never get signs? And what if I'm doing something wrong?
Some people's primal channel is body first, not spirit first. And that is completely fine. Not everyone gets coins and feathers. Some people get a physical knowing that's so quiet, it takes years to notice. Signs are one dialect, not the only language.
Second one, what if I followed my gut once and I was wrong?
Honestly, ask yourself, was it actually your gut or was it fear dressed as an intuition, moving fast and loud? A lot of what people called a failed gut instinct was actually an anxious impulse that they never slowed down enough to second check.
And even when it genuinely was your gut and the outcome still went sideways, that doesn't mean the signal was wrong. Sometimes the gut says yes to something that's still going to be hard, because hard and wrong aren't the same thing.
Third question, how do I explain a gut no to someone without sounding rude?
You actually don't have to explain it at all. That doesn't work for me is a complete sentence. You're allowed to have a boundary that doesn't come with a legal defense attached.
Fourth one, this one comes close to my heart. Can grief make it harder to trust intuition?
Grief can shut the whole system down. And if that's where you're at right now, please be gentle with yourself. You are not broken. You're protecting yourself, and the channel comes back when it's safe to.
Last one for today. My gut and my partner's gut disagree on something. Now what?
That's real, and it happens more often than people admit. Two people can have two very different but equally valid readings on the same situation because you're carrying different history, and that's not a malfunction. That's two separate nervous systems doing their job. It means the conversation has to include both signals, not one overriding the other.
All right, keep sending those in. We genuinely read every one. So let's get back to the practice. Now, let's turn our physical body into a compass that tests alignment across all three dimensions at once. This is step 4. Keep your hand on your stomach. You can add your other hand over your heart if that feels right. Close your eyes for a second and unclench your jaw. Now bring to mind a decision, a person, or a project that you're currently working through. Picture it standing directly in front of you.
Don't weigh the options. Don't pull up a pros and cons list. Simply notice your physical posture as you hold that image in your awareness. Does your chest feel a subtle, gentle pull forward toward the image, a feeling of curiosity, warmth, or leaning in? Or do you feel a micro contraction, your weight shifting back into your heels, your chest tightening, a quiet urge to pull away?
Look at that. Your body, your mind, and your field are working together to give you an immediate directional vector. Your whole system moves towards truth long before your logical mind finishes writing its excuses.
Living in alignment isn't about reaching some magical state where you never make a hard choice again. It's a daily habit of checking in across all three dimensions before things go off the rails.
It's like any relationship. If you ignore a friend for months, only call them when your life is crashing and demand that they help fix it, they're going to be a little hesitant to talk to you. Your intuition and honestly, your relationship with spirit work exactly the same way. You rebuild trust through micro moments.
I love that. Every time your body says, I need a break, and you actually sit down for 10 minutes instead of just powering through. Every time your gut says, don't send that text right now, just wait. And then you put the phone down. Every time you notice a sign and actually write it down instead of dismissing it, you're making a deposit in your self trust account.
And especially when your gut says no to an invitation and you give a simple, polite no without drafting a 3 paragraph essay explaining why.
Why do we do that? The paragraph of fake excuses. Or my dog's cousin has an appointment right now.
Because we feel like we have to justify our body's truth. But that doesn't work for me is a full, complete, beautiful sentence. When you stop performing for everyone else, your internal signal gets ridiculously clear. And honestly, spirit tends to get louder too. It's like the whole system relaxes once it knows you're actually listening.
So, how does this actually live inside a regular Tuesday? Because a lot of people hear all this and think it only applies to huge decisions.
It's the opposite, honestly. The huge decisions get easier specifically because you've practiced all the small ones. In the morning before you check your phone, that's a perfect window for a 30-second visceral check in. Hand on stomach, one quiet question before the noise of everything else start flooding in.
At work, before you say yes to a meeting, a project, or a favor, pause for one moment and one breath, and then notice the lean. Forward or back, forward or back. It takes 4 seconds, and it will save you hours of resentment later.
In parenting, this shows up constantly too. Kids are walking, talking intuition detectors before we teach them not to be. Watching a young person trust their own read on a situation and reflecting that back to them instead of overriding it is one of the most powerful things that we can model.
And honestly, the sign literacy piece is one of my favorite things to do with family. Sharing information about like a weird coincidence that happened, while at dinner out loud without anyone rolling their eyes keeps that channel alive for everyone in the room, not just you. Now we lock this multidimensional connection and using the power of your own voice. When you speak a truth out loud while your physical body is grounded, that sound vibrates through your tissue, wiring in deep self trust and spiritual receptivity.
One hand on your stomach, holding your choice gently in your mind, feeling that physical direction, that settling forward towards what expands you. And now speak this phrase out loud with us, quietly and clearly. I am open. I am grounded. I trust what I receive.
Let it land. Feel the resonance of those words under the palms and in your chest. I am open. I am grounded. I trust what I receive. Let's run the entire sequence together smoothly right now. Use this whenever you feel disconnected, whenever you're searching for a sign, or whenever the noise of the world is drowning out your own inner guidance.
So let's drop our shoulders, let our jaw relax, and exhale all the air out of our lungs.
Step 1, body. Hand flat on your stomach, feel the warm contacts. Let your breath drop down under your palm.
Step 2, spirit. Bring to mind without forcing it any sign or pattern that crossed your path lately. Let it simply be present, no interpretation required yet.
Step 3, mind. If a fear thought rises, name it plainly and say, that's a fear thought. Then let it sit in the passenger seat while you keep on driving.
Step 4, bring your decision or question into view. Feel your physical weight. Notice the micro lean, that subtle pull that's forward towards alignment, or that quiet pull back from what drains you. Trust the direction your whole system is showing you.
Step 5, take a deep, slow breath into your heart and belly, and let's speak it together. I am open.
I am open.
I am grounded.
I am grounded.
I trust what I receive.
I trust what I receive. Notice how the energy in your space just expanded. You're not sitting in your head trying to figure out life. You're anchored in your body, honest with your mind, and connected to the entire field around you.
That's the practice. Grounded in science, anchored in your body, and open to the magic of the unseen realm.
And maybe that's really what today was about. Not becoming more intuitive, just remembering you already are. Remembering your body, remembering your own awareness, remembering your ability to discern, remembering your connection to something larger than yourself. Not becoming more intuitive, just remembering you already are.
You are not a single dimensional person trying to reach a multi-dimensional world.
You're a biodimensional being having a multidimensional experience right now.
Next week, as part of our series, we bring everything together for our grand finale: deep healing and integration. What it looks like when your body, your mind, and your spirit are living in total daily harmony.
You can find show notes, guided practice audios, and ways to connect with us over at sacredsoulroots.com.
Your body has been speaking. Your mind has been speaking. Your spirit may have been speaking too.
The question is never whether the messages were there. The question is whether you've gotten quiet enough to hear them.
Trust what you receive.
We'll see you next week.
Sending
Bye.
love.